I trust you can. Okay, let's do that. So this is Policy Commons. So, and what we're doing is that we're sort of hunting out organizations like yours, but also many others. And so far, we've built a directory of 24,500 organizations. So these are international organizations, including the big ones like the World Bank and so on. Non-governmental organizations, research centers, think tanks, and I've begun to add a few projects as well. There's quite a number of quite large projects, often that have multiple parents. And so I've actually started to load those up as organizations. It makes it easier to manage. From those organizations, we've currently built an index of just over 3.3 million publications. Now, these publications come from around 8,500 of the organizations, partly because some organizations actually don't have any content. They're just an organization. Maybe they do funding or something. Some of them, they don't actually allow us to get hold of their content. They put sort of flags on their site saying, please don't crawl us, and we respect that. So we haven't got their content. But some organizations, we simply haven't got around to harvesting their content yet. It's as simple as that. As you can see, I mean, we've assembled this in just over 18 months. There is a huge amount of content out there. Pretty much every day, I'm running into new organizations and adding them to Policy Commons. It seems to be a bucket that has no bottom. It's really quite extraordinary. When I started this, I had no idea it would be as big as this. It is quite vast. So by pulling it all together, hopefully it makes this content more discoverable and more useful. And we also seek to preserve this content in the long run. Organizations disappear, projects come to an end. We've got over 50,000 reports from 500 inactive organizations. So they've either literally they're there, but then they don't longer seem to be active, or they've completely disappeared. Their websites are dark, and we've actually tracked down their publications and resurfaced them. So we're trying to be an archive as well as a discovery service. So here just gives you some idea of some of the institutions that we have, and we've got some premium content. As a member, you get access to all the content, including our premium content. And then I just have a few featured publications just for amusement, really. So if I go and do a search for the Ford School, because I've actually been doing a bit of work ahead of time, and we've got the Ford School now listed as an organization. Seems rather slow. There we go. So I just did a search for Ford School. In order to make sure that it's searching for a phrase, I put it in inverted commas, because otherwise we'd end up with Ford and School, and you get far too much stuff. And here under organizations, we've got 4 organizations. So we've got the Ford School itself, and then we've got 3 of the research groups that you have, including Close Up. So here's Close Up, and so we've loaded some basic information. So all our organizations have a basic set of information about the what is it? It's a research center. Where what's its website? Does it have a Twitter account, and so on. We add some tags. I don't know whether those are accurate or not, but we've added some tags, but we can always change that. And then there's a summary, which is usually I nick from the website of the organization. So, and then we have their publications. Now I've loaded up one of your publications by hand, just to demonstrate what it would look like. And then if I go into that publication, we have a basic landing page for the publication. So we have its title, authors if we can find them, and here, yes, there you are. So we have some author names, the summary, and then there are various things you can do with this content. So obviously you can view it, and what that does is it will actually fetch the content from your website. So you can see here with the URL, we've actually fetched it from your website. And you can share this particular page. The edit button is because I'm an administrator, therefore I can edit this. We create a citation so that can be then downloaded into a reference management system. And we give it a unique identifier. We don't use DOIs for reasons I won't bore you with, but we use a system that's compatible with DOIs. We are talking to the DOI Foundation to see whether or not we can start using DOIs. But at the moment we're using something that's compatible, but it's free, which is one of the reasons why we're using it. And then we have a list tool, which I'll show you in a minute, which is something that may be of assistance or of interest, particularly if you do any teaching or something like that. So that's the basic discovery function. And obviously then within our search engine, if you were searching for Michigan local government, this may well surface to the top. But we also do something else. We expose this on Google Scholar. So that if you were to go to Google Scholar now, because I loaded this a few days ago, this might actually already be on Google Scholar. And it's a way of getting content from NGO websites, project websites, research center websites into Google Scholar, because Google has no other way of doing that. But it means it suddenly gives your content a bigger visibility with what is, well, certainly with students, it's the most used discovery engine, and I think it ranks number 3 amongst researchers now. So that's one of the reasons for doing that. Now the other thing we do, so when I fetch the content, we fetched it from your website. Now, in the unfortunate event, if that link broke, so say your project came to an end or someone rebuilt your website and the link would break, we've actually got a copy of that PDF sitting in our archive, and we would make that available to our members. So we do that right across the platform. And it's a way of trying to deal with the problem of link rot in the space. You're nodding your head, you understand, yeah, the link rot's such a big problem in this space. And that's how we're dealing with link rot. So where we can, we link to the original.
Yeah, when our link is live, it will still come to our website.
Yeah, it will always go to you. And that means you get the usage data and so on. We think it's really important that where we can, we fetch the content or route the user back to where the content was originally hosted. It also means if you need to change that file or something, then the user's going to get the latest file. I mean, it's that sort of thing. So that's why we do that. Now, in terms of, because you mentioned you got 103 reports from your public policy survey. Well, I've set up our crawler to see whether we can fetch them, and we'll know within the next 2 or 3 weeks whether that's working or not. From what I can see, I can't see any obvious reason why it shouldn't fetch them from the way that you built your website. But I don't know, you could have a flag on your site saying, please don't crawl. If so, I'll get in touch and I'll ask you to whitelist our crawler. But from what I can see, there's no particular reason why we shouldn't be able to start pulling your content in. And we'll see what it looks like when it comes in. Obviously, I loaded this by hand, but when we do it automatically, we can get noise, as I call it. It really depends on how clean the files are on your side as to how accurate our system is in picking them up and adding them to policy commons. But until we've been through the process, we won't know. But we'll have a look. I mean, if we were to go and do, so that paper was on, was it?
Yeah, if you go
to the ARPA Act.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take that as a search term. So if I go and see, I'm going to put that in inverted commas because I'm going to show you really Well, I'm going to put and Michigan because why not?
Well, I was going to say there might be a lot of ARPA content.
So, well, let's have a look. We'll just put and Michigan to see what we get. Well, we've got 87 results.
Yep.
So, you know, I don't know whether you're familiar with the Mackinac Center for Public Policy. You probably are, but they've got something. Obviously, yours comes second. Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. Now, this is there because we've just started adding cities content to Policy Commons. So we've just started crawling the websites of 500 cities in North America and pulling their content into Policy Commons. Now, this is a new module. Michigan, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have access to this new module yet. That's something that Jenny can discuss with your librarians. But there's an example of why it might be useful for you guys to have access to that, because it's surfacing content that you may not be aware of. Now, this is interesting. See, this one's got some tables here. If there are tables in the document, we actually extract them and we make them available as this sort of image bank. And you can then export these tables as a CSV file. Now, from what these tables don't look terribly interesting because they're words, but they got a few numbers in here. But if you were to try and wanted to play with that data and you only had the PDF file and you tried to copy paste that into Excel or something, yeah, you know it's a pretty horrible experience. So we have this tool whereby you hit the CSV file, you can actually extract the data as a CSV file and import it into whichever spreadsheet system you're using. So that's just one of the features that we've got on Policy Commons, which is quite, yeah, it's quite cool.
That's very cool.
So again, so you know, if we were to go into to this, when you hit view, we now go and fetch that from their website. So here you see we're on the Mackinac website. But this is where lists come in. So say you wanted to make a list of publications on ARPA and Michigan. I can, obviously I've got lots of lists because I do so much of this, but you could go in and say, right, I want to make a list called ARPA and Michigan. So I've now saved that item to that, and I can go on and I go, right, I want to add that one to the same list. So I can do that, and then I can go down and say I want to add that one to the list, and you can see you're beginning to build this list. Now, at the moment, that list is private, so it will be whoever's creating the list. So if you were logged in, you would go into my list. So up here, there's the registration area, and you can see lists here. That's what I clicked on. And here's my list, which I've just been building, called ARPA and Michigan. And this is what it looks like. And at the moment, it's still private because I haven't published it yet. Now, you can always just keep it private. If you just want to have a place where you store stuff you find, you can just keep it private. Or you can edit it and you can say, actually, I want to make this. Now, it obviously is saying Coherent Digital because that's where I work. But for you, it would say University of Michigan. And then you can make that list available to anybody at the University of Michigan. So this, for example, if you wanted to make a reading list for a class, you could do that here. And with the upload tool, because there's an upload tool, if you wanted to add your class notes to this list, you could do that. You could upload, a PowerPoint or whatever documents you've been preparing for the class, and you could add it to this list. And if you only restrict the access to that document to the University of Michigan, it won't end up on Google Scholar and it won't end up anywhere else. It'll just be there. So that means that you've got a resource that you can now share with the students, and they can access all the content. And if it's a long list, the facets down the left-hand side can help hunt through the list. So the list tool there is useful. It's useful for supporting projects. It could be just a personal thing. You just want to have a place to store documents, or it could be used for classes. So if I go back to that search, so I just got to whip down the facets here. So obviously we've got publications, we've got the type of publication. So there are 85 are reports, one brief, one link. I'm not quite sure what that is. We'll go and have a look. And it's a link out to policy options, and it looks like a report. It's just been picked up as a link. This could have been uploaded by somebody, and that's why it's there as a link, because we don't know which organization has published it. So there's a link published by Resources for the Future. So it could be that someone's uploaded that, and that's why we haven't got it linked to another publication or another organization. You can see here all the organizations that have been publishing in this space. And so if you click on more, you get to see the whole lot. So you can see there's quite a number of organizations that have got content on ARPA and Michigan. Everything's in English. We have lots of other languages as well, but this is in English. All this is new. That would make sense. And these are the topics. So as we load content up, we analyze it and start to tag it. And so we've got 4 on children, 1 on COVID, and so on. So these are the topics that we've added, and you can see when they were added as well. Now that may or may not be terribly interesting, but what you can do is, if you think actually it'd be really great if I got pinged every time something new was added, you can follow this search result. All you have to do is click on it, and every time now that something new is added on ARPA and Michigan, then we'll get an email. And again, you control that up here if you go up to your follows. So you see here's that one that I've just made, and you can control how often you get it. Or you could, if you're away on vacation, you can even disable it so you don't come back too many emails. So so we have a follow function. So I think that's just one more thing I just want to show you is something called proximity searching. It's really powerful search tool, because here we're searching for ARPA and Michigan, which means that you could have one mention at the beginning of the document and one mention right at the end of the document. In fact, the document's not really about it at all. If you put in near, we're now looking for those 2 terms within 15 words of one another. And you can see that 87 results, it comes down to 3, because it's really looking for documents. Now, you can take control over near, because that's the default is 15. But if I put in, near /20, we're now looking at within 20 words of one another. And you can come down closer. You can say, right, actually, I want it within 5 words. And the proximity search it's a search technique that isn't terribly common. It's a really powerful way of hunting for content in Policy Commons. So you just found one where it's within 5 words. So I just always like to show the near proximity search tool, because it's not obvious and it's really powerful. So I think that's everything. Quick whip through. I don't think there's a lot else to show you. Any questions, any reactions, or would you like me to do a search for you? See what comes up.
It is wonderful. I love it. It is great. I'm really excited for our content to be included. So in the tagging system, if you do the import yourselves of our content from our website, if that process goes smoothly, we actually have a tagging process on our website for our reports. So we have tags associated with all of the reports. You wouldn't have to do it or have to guess or anything like that. How could we help you with that tagging to make sure that our publications have the correct tags to them?
Well, let's see what happens. It could be that we actually pick up those tags through the crawler. It really depends on how the tags are attached to the file. So what I suggest we do is see what happens, because it could be that it just works and we actually pick up all those tags. If it doesn't work, then I think the best thing to do would be to get one of my technical colleagues to talk with you or whoever runs your website to see how we might be able to tweak the system so we can pick up your tags automatically.
Okay.
Okay,
So, because I think our tags are on, we have a landing page for our publications. Here,
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
this is our, for the report you've got in your archive already, this is our landing page for it. I just put it in the chat.
Okay.
That has our tags on it. So if you go down to the bottom, I believe the tags are at the bottom. Maybe, where are our tags? Maybe it's not even on this page. Or maybe we haven't tagged. You know what? We might not have tagged this report yet. This is brand new. We just put it out.
Yeah.
This month. Let me see if I can find another report that would be tagged.
Down to one that's maybe from last year, see whether it's got a tag on it.
Yeah, here's one on
Yeah, I've got one here. It's got 3 tags on it. It's got
Right.
Spring 2020 MP PPS, Democracy and Elections.
Yeah, so environment,
yeah.
governmental relations, right.
Yeah.
So we have, but it's not going to be on the link that you're using, which I think is the appropriate link, is the link to the report itself, our URL to the report, which I think is actually right. That's where you do want to send people.
Sure, but our crawler will be looking, because it actually sort of drills down through the site. It'll go via your landing page to find that link,
right.
and so it on its way through, it may see those tags and pick them up. But I say the best thing is let's see what the crawler brings, and then I can, if it brings the tags, great. If it doesn't, then say I'll get one of my technical colleagues to have a look, because I'm not a.
It wouldn't make sense for anyone to try to do it by hand when we already have all of the tags.
Well, exactly.
Someone's already gone through and tagged. You can
Exactly.
now, I don't know if you do a keyword search, our tags may not be as comprehensive as the tags that you're using on your site. You're welcome to add tags. I don't know how that would work, but that'd be helpful.
Excuse me, we have 2 systems. So we have a structured topic system, but we also have tags for each object, and those tags have no structure, so that anything anyone wants them to be, and so therefore we'll just simply import your tags and associate them with the content. So it's not a problem. It's one of the reasons we designed it this way, is that you can have a structured sort of topic list, and invariably they evolve slower than people's language. And so therefore we have the tags there, and also with social media, people are so used to tagging content now.
Right.
So that's what we do.
So from what I can tell, we don't really need to do anything right now to make this happen. We're just going to wait and see if the automatic system works. The crawler. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see if that works. And yeah. And once it comes through, we can have another look, and we'll see how clean it is. It really depends on the quality of the metadata on your site. Your site looks neat and tidy. I mean, it looks good, but we'll see what actually sort of sitting behind, because a lot of is actually sitting behind.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Toby, didn't you find some documents yesterday from the Ford School that were at a different URL?
Yeah, that was in a different department. I've looked at close up. Close up seemed to be much better than the example we saw yesterday. We were looking at
to attend your meetings.
We were looking at one of the Ford schools yesterday, and yeah, the content was in multiple different places. Some of it not even hosted at Michigan. It was hosted elsewhere. A bit of a dog's breakfast, as we say in English.
A lot of effort into the website. We do this. Our survey is a census survey of local governments, so it's all of the local governments in Michigan, and one of our audiences is local government officials, so we try to make the website really very easy and accessible for them, because they're not going to spend a lot of time digging deep or searching around or anything like that. Yeah,
absolutely. No, from what I saw, you got a very neat and tidy website, so that's great.
Well, so we're very excited. We are happy to help in any way we can in terms of getting the content up onto the Commons. But it sounds like we're going to just sit back and let you guys take care of it. So maybe we check back in a couple weeks. If maybe, you know what I'll do is I'll get myself an account and kind of check. I'll make a note to myself to check to see that our stuff is up. And if it's not, maybe we can get in touch and you can let us know. How we can.
And Deborah, I'm wondering, I mean, outside of the fact that we're going to be, you know, having your content on the site, does it seem like a tool that'll be useful to you and your colleagues?
So I do teach a class here at the Ford School on Michigan politics. So I was like, oh, I love the search results.
Yeah.
Use of that. So I could definitely see using it for my own instructional purposes. And we do a lot of research on policy topics outside of Michigan so that we can then compare what people are doing to the work that we're doing here. And so it would be a really useful tool for us to kind of be very, you know, as opposed to just kind of the general web or even Google Scholar, to be able to focus specifically
right.
papers and to be able to find policy papers who are doing more research like ours, which is kind of small scale, maybe not for journal publication, but for more policy brief and just here's what Michigan's doing kind of thing. So looking for other scholars, researchers who are doing that, but not necessarily publishing in academic journals will be really helpful to have a resource like that. So no, I can see this being really useful for us.
Great.
You're awesome, Deborah. It's such a pleasure to talk to you about the work you do. It's so relevant to policy comment. It's really exciting.
No, I think we're a perfect match. When we saw this come across our email, we were like, well, look at that. That's us, kind of this small shop, not a lot of, you know, visibility, but a ton of content. And I imagine you're going to link us up with other people like us who are doing these very narrow focused policy areas and not necessarily in nationwide publications or things like that. So yeah, I think
absolutely. I mean, one of the things that really, you know, amazes me as we're building out policy commons is discovering all these small research groups all over the world, often doing the same thing. You know, it really is really interesting. Yeah, I'm really hoping that it does help you meet people who are doing this, you know, wrestling with the same sort of issues, you know, on the other side of the planet, because I think that'd be great. You know,
well, and for us, particularly within the United States, we got 50 states doing all kinds of similar parallel things, and we often don't talk to each other, right? So Michigan, is local governments here in Michigan are busy reinventing the wheel that's already been done in Ohio or Arizona or Washington State. So it would be really useful for us to see what policy researchers like us who are looking at local governments. Local government is also a kind of policy arena that is not necessarily as you know, it is very locale specific. And so people don't often share across, oh, what's going on in North Carolina? It's harder to do. And so I think it'll be very useful for us, definitely.
Very
and
good.
Hopefully for what we're doing with other scholars like us.
Excellent.
All right. Well, know if there's anything. I'm glad Natalie didn't come because, you know, we don't have any work to do. You're gonna let for us, which is great.